nothing, they conjure something.
The ultimate team, the ultimate warriors.
Yes, and on to a COVID-19 and toilet paper hoarding free zone with the armchair expert Andrew Schmidt. Schmitty, good morning.
Joseph, good morning to you. And I actually got caught up in the toilet roll or toilet buying frenzy at a supermarket yesterday.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, and I was just standing at the counter there. You know, I had my normal things I buy, you know, which is fairly basic. And
Yes, health foods.
There was this lady in front of me, and she would have had about 100 rolls of toilet paper, and the young girl at the counter said, "Oh, we're stocking up, are we?" And she said, "It's not for me, it's for my daughter. She's worried about this virus."
So I'm not doing the panic buying.
No. Anyway, I got up there, and I think I had my one roll that normally lasts for about a week.
Okay, there might be too much information, but it is perplexing, isn't it, Schmitty? I mean...
Look, away from the coronavirus for a minute, I don't know if you watched any of the T20 women's semi-final last night. I really, really feel for England because their game was washed out against India. So that game was washed out, so India go through to the final, automatic. They're at the MCG on Sunday. And then Australia came out, took on South Africa, managed to get over the line. Now, just think about this. Australia play India in the women's T20 final, MCG Sunday. As we sit here now, how many tickets do you think have been sold, Joseph? Just have a stab.
40,000.
60,000 tickets have been sold.
That's great support, though, isn't it? I mean, that's a great affirmation.
And like, that's 60,000 tickets. Now, I'd imagine today, on the back of Australia winning last night, you think there's going to be a rush over the next couple of days. The weather looks pretty good for Melbourne on the weekend. I mean, we know Melbourne, that can change in 20 minutes, let alone a couple of days.
Ain't that the truth, yeah.
Could you imagine they get 80, 90,000 there for that final?
Well, I do know, and we've spoken about it a couple of times before, they are trying to go for the world record for a women's final in any sport.
Yeah.
Which is currently held by, it was an event in California, I think it was. Might have been a women's soccer match. So I think they need to get over 90,000, maybe 91,000.
Well, they're going to push it. They're going to push it. Look, and as I said, there's been a lot said about, you know, if it rained a bit more, Australia only just got home, really, because of they beat South Africa by 5 runs on the Duckworth-Lewis method because the South African innings was short because of the weather. But could you imagine if both those finals were washed out? The conversation we'd be having this morning would be along the lines of, well, okay, the finals on Sunday, couldn't today have been a reserve day or even Saturday?
Weather has been just so extreme anyway, hasn't it, over the last few months?
And look, Joseph, that there are people listening this morning that would, you know, give anything for a drop of rain. And, you know, I live in one of the most drought-riddled areas of the country, and where I am, we've had 13 millimetres of rain for the year. So, but, I mean, just here you've got the World Cup. And, you know, sorry, rain, bad luck, you're out. You just think you'd have a reserve day. Now, I know there's a lot to do with the commercial side of it and television rights and all that, but anyway, you just think for a tournament of this standard, there should be a reserve day.
It does put them into a difficult position if they get washed out. But anyway, let's see if they can get that world record crowd for the final. That'd be fantastic.
Being biased.
And just quickly, Schmitty, I wanted to ask whether you watched Australian Story on Monday night, ABC TV or on iView, with that amazing story of Marlon Pickett, picked up by the Tigers after a lot of challenges getting there, and then, of course, it's starred in the grand final, as we all know.
Well, for those people who didn't see it, and look, Australian Story is one of my favourite shows because the reason being is whatever they do is about the person they're interviewing and the people around that person. It's not about the person doing the interview. You never hear from them. But Marlon Pickett, Indigenous lad from the West, was incarcerated on a couple of occasions as a young bloke, had a wonderful partner, ended up with 4 great kids, in his mid-20s, playing really good footy in WA, thought his chances of playing AFL were gone. Richmond picked him up mid-season. He's got a broken finger. He mightn't even play. Plays in the VFL final, BOG, and then Damien Hardwick turns around and says, guess what, Marlon? You're going to make your debut in the grand final. Came out, played very well, became a cult hero overnight. He's played 1 game for Richmond in the seniors, premiership player, and because of that, under the Richmond rules, you automatically become a life member. So those people that slave away for 10 years at community level or country netball or soccer or footy clubs, Marlon trots out 1 game at Richmond. If you play in a premiership, you're automatically a life member. He's a life member, but that was a great story. If people missed it, ABC iView. It's one of the great Australian stories.
Yes, you really got to watch it, and that's one of the fabulous things about iView, isn't it? You just catch up and you can watch it anytime.
Yeah, anytime you like. Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
And no one will begrudge Marlon Pickett having been made a life member too after that wonderful story. And I mean, to be able to keep your composure, first game out, at a grand final at the MCG. I mean, I don't know how he did it, but it was a superb game.
And I think the biggest story there is a young lad, got in a bit of strife as a young fella, served a bit of time for that. But, when you saw him there with his partner and his 4 young kids and, and his wider family, it just goes to show that, you might start off on the wrong path, but, mate, there's plenty of opportunities to turn around, and it's well done to him.
Marlon Pickett, Australian Story. Catch Up TV on iView if you didn't manage to see it. Schmitty, have a fabulous weekend, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday. In fact, it'll be.
Thank you, Joseph.